So what we're going to be talking about in this little clip is contract manufacturing, also known as licensing, versus owning your own marijuana production license. Came out here and started looking for like some secluded little roads I could drive down to find a nice camp spot, and I finally did. I found one that basically follows this winding little riverbed. See where I got the car. So I got out here just before sundown, as you can see. I'm gonna get my little campsite set up. Should be good. I'm gonna kind of check out from the vlog at this point, get some me time. But yeah, not a bad view, right? So the preface to this is that in the first deal that I tried to make, I tried to buy equity in a marijuana production license, and that way, we would actually have our name on said license. We would be the owners of it. We could do whatever we want with that license. Okay, and with that comes pros and cons. The pros being that you're self-sufficient. You've got your own license that's attached to your own building that you either own or lease. You can do whatever you want with that license without really asking anybody outside of the state. After this first deal, I started looking into alternative options to owning our own license, because I started to see kind of what a pain in the butt that was going to be, and also I was going to have to partner with somebody if we went that route. And I was quickly learning that I didn't want to partner with anybody. What is contract manufacturing / licensing? So this would be a situation where, as opposed to owning our own facility and marijuana production license, we would approach somebody who has their own facility and their own production license and is already making some sort of marijuana products. And they have extra space in their facility that they want to make use of, and would potentially want us to come in there and put in our candy manufacturing equipment. And what we would do is come in, install our equipment, and run it, teach their people really how to run it, and they would be in charge of the manufacturing. The pros and cons of this are as such. The pros are that because you're using an already established facility that's already licensed and built out and it's currently putting out marijuana products, you skip this entire process up front of having to go through the licensing process yourself, passing the background checks yourself. You would still need to do a background check to be involved, but not nearly as rigorous. You wouldn't need to find your own property, build that property to the spec that you need it, have that property assessed several times by the state. All of that goes away in this instance because the people that you're working with have already done that. The other downside, and this is the important one for us, is that it's not your facility and they aren't your employees. So you have to share all of your knowledge with these people. You have to teach them how to make your product. And this isn't a big deal if you don't have any proprietary information or any trade secret, because then you're not worried about them knowing it. So it's kind of like anything. It's not there's no secrets behind how to make soda, right? But you can go out and you could buy soda, carbonating machines and syrup and things like that. And you could learn how to make soda. Actually, this is a really bad example. No, not a good example. What's a better example? So it's a lot of what we would be bringing to the table that we wouldn't want to risk in a contract manufacturing situation isn't necessarily the equipment that we'll be using. That's part of it, but really, you can find the equipment that we're going to be using on like Alibaba and online. The analogy that I like to use for this is that is to liken it to alcohol, right? You can buy a whiskey still or a beer brewing setup, from anybody who sells that equipment, and you can get that set up in a warehouse, and you can buy the wheat or the barley and the hops and the bottles, and you can buy all of that stuff. But that doesn't mean you're going to be able to make whiskey. Never mind good whiskey or good beer. A lot of it is in how you run that equipment. And so that's a lot of what we bring to the table. Is making candy is not as simple as melting sugar and putting it in different shapes. Well, that's essentially what you're doing on a very basic level. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it, and that stuff takes a long time to learn. And I have the benefit of having grown up with this knowledge around me and having worked with this kind of equipment before. I had to leave really quickly from my camping spot. Woke up, was like, oh my God, rain. And I knew that if it started raining really hard, that a bunch of water could come splashing down through there really quickly and I could get stuck. So threw all my shit in the car really quick and got myself out of there. The one day, the last 3 months that it's rained, here, it's when I go camping.